House Bill SB 1420. This one deals with schools, universities, consular identification cards. And it will be in the Senate Education Committee on Tuesday. And it was introduced by Senator BOWIE. And it has to do with an old friend of ours. We talked about it last year and the year before. The theme is, should a consular identification card be used as official identification in the state of Arizona? And we have a lot to say about that in just a minute. But it is a horrible bill. It really should not be, it shouldn't even be getting a hearing, but it is. But the interesting thing, before we get to that, I want to give you a list of the people who are behind this bill, because it is interesting. Sure, Senator BOWIE introduced it, but who else is behind it? Who else is endorsing this bill? But BOWIE, ENGEL, FANN, PACE, RIOS, SHOPE, and Representatives BARTON and Bowers. Lieberman, PAYNE, Rodriguez, and TOMA. So you have a cross-section of the legislature, including not just Democrats, but Republicans, Democrats. And why in the world would anybody want to have this bill? Now, basically what it does, okay, if you look at it on the surface, okay, this may not be such a bad bill if you don't look into it, because it says, okay, we want to have these people identified, we want to know who they are, and if you're issued an identification card by a consul, then that should be good enough, especially since they do require that card to have some kind of biometric information on it. The problem with this card or any such scheme is that it tells you nothing about lawful presence, see? So once you have that card, you can qualify for all kinds of benefits. You can do all kinds of things that require identification, yet you're not necessarily a lawful, you don't necessarily have a lawful presence here. And anything that does not show a lawful presence should not be a part of an official identification card. And that's what the rub is, and that's why this is such a bad bill. If they were to write a bill saying you can use this identification but only for X, you know, only know who you are, that's one thing. But here you can use it for all kinds of benefits, education, for welfare, for anything that you want to use it for. And that is the reason I really don't think that this should, it shouldn't see the light of day. But apparently it has bipartisan support, and I cannot understand why.
Well, BOWIE doesn't necessarily surprise me. I mean, he's a school teacher, and so, I mean, this just gives, you know, non-citizens an opportunity to come in and go to school at the taxpayer's expense. But I must tell you, having FANN and SHOPE and Barton and Bowers and TOMA do anything like this is a really surprise. Now, this is entitled as an amending 15802 and 41-5001. In truth and fact, I mean, I don't know what it's amending, but it's, you know, it doesn't amend Title 41-5001. It totally repeals it and replaces it.
Right.
Because
yes.
5001 specifically said, and I don't remember now exactly when it was passed, but it wasn't all that terribly long ago, because this question's been up many times before. And it's specific, 5001 today currently provides that a consular card cannot be used for purposes of identification. This makes it 180 degrees out. So
actually, what they did, and it's funny because it says shall not, and part of what this bill does is crosses out not. And instead of saying shall not, it says shall.
Right.
A very minor change, but it changes the whole thing.
Changes the whole thing, yes. And as Jose said, I mean, now it allows somebody that just walked across the border, whether it's from Mexico, New Mexico, Nevada, California, wherever it is, Now all of a sudden they're a resident, and you know, they don't have to be a citizen. All of a sudden they can, you know, they qualify for all kinds of benefits from the state of Arizona, and I mean, that's just not proper. But the other thing to remember too is, and while I didn't mention it earlier, there are two other companion bills that deal with the same question, although maybe a little bit more extensive, and that's House Bill 2458 and House Bill 2687. They deal with the same thing.
Yeah, 2458 is a mirror a bill, meaning that the same bill was introduced in the House as it was introduced in the Senate. And a little civics lesson here for the folks at home is that when you do this, you do it for a reason. And the reason is that you have a bill that may be advancing in one chamber but not so much in the other chamber. So you have both working, and then the one that's not doing so good is dropped, and then you focus your attention on the one that is advancing. And that's the reason why so often you see an exact same bill introduced in the House and also in the Senate. The other bill, HB 2685 is
87.
Oh, 87. Okay, that's the one that the only thing that it contains is the change in the wording from, you know, striking out the shall not and putting shall in there. So all three of these bills fall in the same category. They're all bad, and they all should be voted down. And we hope that folks at home will do this, that they will contact the legislative officials and say no to this. This is not a good thing.